Today, in our first part of our webinar series, we're going to be partnering with and discussing with BigCommerce on how you can optimize your online business so that you can weather these tough times and come out with a stronger and more resilient business. And with us today, we have Mark Ostranik, the SVP of Global Sales for BigCommerce. Mark, how are you?
Hey, Michael, great to see you. Thanks for having me.
You as well. So we are partnering with BigCommerce, obviously, because you have a lot of efforts to help small businesses. Would you mind just kicking off the webinar with some of those efforts for us and sharing that with our audience?
You bet. We definitely do. I mean, the anchor of our business has been in serving small and medium businesses. And so as we look at this environment that we're in, part of what we're bringing to the table is making it easy for those merchants to get online, stay online, and then continue to thrive and grow. There are actually opportunities to do that. And so in terms of getting online, we have some free month offers to be able to make it low cost or no cost to be able to start their site online. We have a partner network of digital agencies and systems integrators to give the coaching, the integration, and the site builds to be able to onboard them quickly so that they can go from first time online to being live and transacting. And then we provide the service in terms of being able to continue to manage, help them grow, add features, expand their ability to transact in multiple channels.
So Mark, I think we're going to move into some of the key points that BigCommerce has identified as being helpful for businesses. First, and perhaps most important, connecting with customers. How can merchants best connect with their customers?
First step is often looking at how do you communicate with those customers? What's the voice that you're actually bringing to them right now? Is it a voice of product availability, access, discounting, speed of delivery? Is it one of compassion and alignment to a cause? Is that with more people staying at home, the impetus and the focus on communication has to be so much higher. And I think that's even more so when dealing with a merchant communicating to its customers is how that message is going to carry in terms of reinforcing the brand, continuing to build trust, but also bringing them back to the products and services that are being offered.
Right. So truly being able to reach out and as our first point shows, connecting with your customers and understanding your customers' needs is really got to be priority one for business.
I believe so. I mean, it's part of taking stock, and it's also in a pragmatic way, it's a way to look at the most addressable set of customers that you have, right? The least expensive marketing you do is marketing to your existing customer base. And whether that is a market message or an acquisition message or one on brand or one on the current pandemic, it's important that communication be very real and reasonably frequent. I think the tie-in with understanding the challenges that their customers really have. And so if depending on what the category or market or ideal customer segment they're serving, they're going to have different needs. Some of those folks have needs that are financial. Some have needs that are more focused on convenience. Some may have needs on protection or access. And some may want to understand that they're working with a brand that has the heart to care or add value or donate part of their proceeds into a philanthropy. And I think we've seen that with things like Donate Button. There are plenty of apparel merchants who will allow you to buy PPE right along with your primary order. And I think it makes a lot of sense.
All right. Understanding all of that, clearly an important piece for any business is managing cash flow. And even if it's not, physical cash, managing cash flow is a major priority for businesses. How can our small businesses address that growing concern?
But at the end of the day, managing the cash in the business is an important and critical piece of the strategy. And so we're seeing merchants make hard decisions about what marketing channels they're going to spend in, how and what their infrastructure is. And when we look at the true operating costs of an online merchant or an online channel, that comes down to some really basic things. What technologies that they're using, what it's costing to maintain and operate those technologies, what decisions they're making in being able to spend working capital or working dollars in marketing, and then how that affects the products that they're trying to bring to market and what they actually have on hand. There is absolutely a competing set of dollars between supply chain and inventory influx and what it's costing to run and operate the online channel for fulfillment and shipping. I think the interesting twist is it's also a great time to actually look at the technology and platforms and infrastructure that you're using. If there's a time, even just seasonally, this is a great time to be looking at technology and infrastructure because it's not peak season for most of retail. And so it's seasonally a great time to be taking stock and inventory of what you're using and what it really costs and whether or not there are alternatives. But it's also the opportunity that the technical teams who may be helping and or working with you also have that time to be able to look and dig in to that opportunity. Whether that's something you do in-house or whether that's something you use a third party to provide those recommendations and tuning and management, there are real savings to be had there. And so the merchants that we talk to, saving thousands of dollars a month is meaningful. That can be repurposed directly into working capital for marketing. So some really interesting things there.
All right. And as we see the landscape of retail shifting away just from the physical retail locations, we now have to optimize our e-commerce businesses for any device that customers are connecting through. How can you optimize your site for any device?
Desktop is still the platform that has the highest AOV.
Mm-hmm.
So there's an important aspect to being able to have the full featured, rich experience, high-res photo, video as part of the merchandising of product. And if anything, more so now because that in-store experience is on pause. And so there isn't the alternative to go see it, feel it, touch it. We've seen merchants who are reshooting photography that is more in the setting of their store, trying to bring that experience more forward in the shopping so that it feels like it's among other companion products. We're also seeing new technologies fit the mode. And so as an example, while desktop is important, mobile and tablet present this opportunity to do things like augmented reality. The whole idea is to bring that experience that you would otherwise do in person. I think that whole idea of trying to make the virtual world physical again is a really interesting challenge, but it's one that has some really basic tenets, one of which is richness of content. So the quality of photography, the videos, the imagery to try and bring people into the experience. And then it's also about trying new things and looking at other ways to say, okay, how can I put the consumer into this experience in a more meaningful way?
And of course, now addressing something that has been talked about for the past number of years, but is even more pressing in today's world, meeting shoppers where they are. How do you connect with customers where they're already spending time on their devices?
You bet. And that's even, thinking about where they're going to buy. Part of it is they may be seeing your product in another channel, right? They may be seeing it in a social setting. They might be seeing it on Instagram and wanting to go straight from Instagram to purchase. That may be a checkout option where they can go straight from an influencer campaign or from a direct brand-based social experience into the buying process. The checkout doesn't need to always happen on site. That can happen and meet the customer and consumer where they are. But I think it's also how do you take that buying function and make it sit somewhere else where they can buy in a marketplace, you can buy in social, you can buy in Facebook, you can buy in Instagram, and allow the customer to determine when they're ready to buy and then make it easy to use the payment process, checkout, and methods.
So something obviously businesses have been focused on for a long time, building loyalty, perhaps even more important these days. How do we build loyalty as businesses with our customer base?
There are a number of things. Some are technology related. So obviously, capturing consumer content, using and working through a loyalty program that can mechanically give you the ability to run specific promotions and or accrual a benefit for those consumers. But it also comes down to effective segmentation. So actually understanding, what does it mean to be a VIP versus a recurring customer versus a one-time customer versus the customer that I'm trying to bait into a purchase. And it also means expanding what the cart options are for what is going to unlock free shipping, what may unlock free shipping on a recurring basis, right? The idea of these loyalty tiers is really meant to bring value to the customer, right? The value to the merchant is going to be the repeat purchases, right? And the average order value. But the value to the customer should be something very tangible. And often that is unlocking part of the experience with shipping or a discount or a promotion that has longer tenure than just the one purchase itself. And so the segmentation, I think, is very important to be able to look at the patterns that actually matter. So meaning, is there a certain volume of purchase by which those customers end up being much more profitable long-term? Great. Let's lock those into customer segments and be able to say, now what do we do with them? What's the treatment? And that treatment may be something tied to loyalty. It may be something tied to a promotion or a specific campaign. But it also means then, back to our first topic overall, is communication. Now I know who I want to communicate with about certain topics and avenues. It may be asking my most loyal or my highest value customers questions that are actually really important to me, meaning how would their behavior change? What would they prioritize in a promotion or a segment? Now I can do some really interesting testing and sampling with that group before I even launch a change to the product or a change to a promotion that may cost me real dollars or a discount in that process. And so loyalty, I think, is a really key step here, because it's one that affects the pull-through from your customers, but it also affects the perception of what company they're working with and what it means for them to continue to purchase with you.
Okay, so I'm going to just take a moment here and talk about the one thing that oftentimes businesses either ignore or take for granted, which is the payments experience. We're talking about convenient, flexible, secure payment experiences that are going to reduce friction for your customers, which will lead to more sales. More trust in the checkout experience is going to lead to higher AOV on your sales. You're going to be able to reach a more global audience when you're working with a partner like PayPal and our over 300 million consumers globally. When we look at that checkout experience, it's so crucial to have one that can get your customers through securely and quickly, with providing them the choice that they need during that final step of an e-commerce experience. If we look at e-commerce as a whole, nearly 85% of all e-commerce experiences are abandoned before a consumer even puts a single item into a shopping cart. Plenty of reasons why people would abandon the experience, but there shouldn't be just as many reasons for people to abandon the checkout. When they've decided on what they want to purchase from your site, from your store, you should have as seamless a checkout experience as possible. Because if we look at e-commerce, once that 15% of people put an item into a cart, we still see nearly 3 in 4 consumers abandoning without completing a purchase. What are the number one reasons that you might think that consumers would abandon a checkout experience? Well, of course, safety pops to the top of mind. I don't want to enter in my credit card information. I don't want to enter in my bank information. So if a consumer already has a digital wallet, if they have a PayPal account with multiple funding sources inside, if they have a Venmo account and the ability to pay with their chosen funding instrument inside of Venmo on your site, that's going to expedite the checkout process more seamlessly. If we then talk about the safety and security that's behind it, PayPal for 20 years has built up a brand around trust and security in payments, because every funding instrument that goes into a PayPal or a Venmo digital wallet is immediately encrypted. It's then tokenized. It's then vaulted and stored securely on one of our secure servers around the globe. So a consumer's information is never vulnerable during that e-commerce experience. For merchants, you're not on the hook for the responsibility of managing that security, managing that risk around holding and hosting all of those payment mechanisms. PayPal takes every bit of that out of the experience for you.
I think what we're trying to bring forward are important and also tactical things that merchants can do to make a difference. And whether that's cost savings, whether that's focusing on communication, whether that's doing effective promotions, whether that's having effective payment options or financing options for checkout, those are really meaningful. They make a difference. Right? When we look at the profile of what payment methods consumers are using at checkout, how easy is it for them to complete? Those are all things that I think present really interesting opportunities for merchants right now to say, hey, those options really do matter.
And with that partnership, we should leave with final thoughts that BigCommerce has an offering right now. If you're new to e-commerce, and did you want to speak to that?
We do. So we have a 3-month free offer for new merchants that come to BigCommerce. It could be your first store. It could be your first time online. That's great. We're here to help. We're headquartered here in Austin, Texas. We do all of our support in the US, and we pride ourselves on helping merchants grow. And so we have a great opportunity to work with our friends at PayPal to both provide great options and flexibility, but also advantaged rates, right? Meaning we are built to set up to be merchant first and merchant friendly, and also how we provide the payment and transaction process. So absolutely would love to support more merchants and help them get online.
Well, fantastic. Mark, thank you very much for the time today. We're going to have follow-up emails coming to everyone who has participated in this webinar. There are going to be links to the BigCommerce offering, and if you're interested in learning more from PayPal, we'll have links available there as well to our Business Resource Center. Thank you all very much. Mark, once again, thank you very much for your time, and be well.
Thank you, Michael. It was a pleasure.